For the most part, society sees the addict and the alcoholic, the person who's still suffering, the person that's causing crime. They don't see the people that have recovered, that are now paying taxes, working in the community, voting, raising their families, being part of their community, being parts of church. People in recovery, once they get well, they kind of blend back into society, and their voice is never heard, or hasn't been heard on a regional level, on a state level, or a national level. This is that opportunity that as a group of recovering people, we can change the way the system works, we can change the way the public perceives recovery, and you know, if one person gets the help they need because of our efforts, then it's been worth it.
So the power that the recovering person has is, in a positive way, and to make change, is very, very real. And once they taste that,
I truly believe, personally and professionally, that people in recovery are extraordinary people, and that, as you pointed out, they're people that have dealt with issues of honesty. They're people who bring honesty to relationships wherever they go, that sometimes or often unique. They're folks who have made remarkable sacrifices and taken phenomenal risks and faced fear and stepped out in faith and have done that to stay alive.
We change and we get better. We learn that we don't have to use anymore. And we find that there are things about us that we never knew that we could possibly accomplish.
we have a very culturally diverse group. Mm-hmm. We have some very young people, we have the older people, we have Afro-Americans, we have Latinos, we have people on methadone, we have people in this, so it's a very, very diverse group. But what is common throughout the whole thing is recovery.
Right, that's the common denominator.
That's the common denominator. And you had asked about...
Picture cold. Picture dark. I grew up feeling that nobody wanted me, nobody wanted to be around me, nobody cared. And so that's why I became my best friend. It always was willing to be there with me. Drugs and alcohol, anytime, no matter what I'm going through. If I need a drink, if I'm going through something, Yukon Jack was right there. 11, 40 ounces was right there. Always my best bud, as it says. Living underneath this place. Hearing the cars go over my head all night, all day. It was the only interaction with society. And that I knew society was out there. People were out there. I slept here, alongside the wall. Here, underneath this bridge, it's like me, the pigeons, the rats, the gnats, the mosquitoes, and then God. I turned around and I told God, I said, you know what? I still had the crack pipe in my hand, and I still had the 40 ounce in the other hand, and I'm sitting on this crate. And I said, if you take this away from me, I'll proclaim your name to the world. God keeps his promises.
Well, his job is an outreach worker, and you can't find anybody better. Really, I mean, it may sound like I'm just touting him, but the bottom line is that you've got to have passion, and that's what he has. You've got to have commitment, and that's what he has.
Today, I'm living life. I mean, I'm enjoying this thing. I go to a job that it's about carrying the message that you never have to use again, and that this thing is possible for everyone that wants the bonds, the the chains broken.
I think he is very eager to make his contribution to the community, and is very capable and has the personality and the ability to do the job.
I can walk down the street now and I've run into people, don't make a difference what time of the day or night. I say, Mickey, I want to get clean. Help me get into detox. I drop everything. You want to try? Let's go. The most awesome thing in my life about CCAR is our positive point of view. We're not interested in talking about this is drugs, this is your brain on drugs. We want to show you how your brain works when you stop using. It's all about not taking from anybody, but giving all that I can give.
Good morning. My name is Joseph Petrello. I'm a recovering addict and a member of the Connecticut Community for Addiction Recovery. I feel honored to speak in such a setting as this and with such a distinguished panel. I'm here today to ask CSAT to make recovery support services an equal and essential part of the treatment and recovery process.
Thank you, Mr. Petrello. We appreciate your testimony. Next, please.
Before CCAR, I didn't know that it was possible that somebody would actually listen. And I feel that all that has gone away. And what I mean by that is when I'm in the legislative office building and I'm testifying in a hearing, I really feel that my voice is being heard.
I was leaving a hearing room one morning here at the legislative office building, and I saw a man walking towards me. And I thought I knew him, but couldn't recognize the face. When he finally got up close to me and said my name, I realized it was Joe Petrillo. But there was something different about his face. He was smiling and happy and bright, and when he shook my hand, he shook it with confidence. After meeting Joey, I went right back into the legislative chamber and told everyone that now, not only do I believe, but am convinced recovery does work.
One of the turning points for me last year was going to Washington with CCAR as a representative of CCAR and of the recovering community to speak with the Center for Substance Abuse Treatment to give them an awareness of what we've been doing over the last couple of years. We've had 2 very successful legislative days in Hartford, Connecticut. The first year I was able to speak at that during those hearings, which was another turning point for me because I had never done any public speaking. The second year that CCAR had a day at the legislative office building, I was a master of ceremonies. That was another turning point for me. In my past, in the grips of my addiction, I had sometimes wondered who were the people that were making the decisions that affect me. And today I sit in meetings with those people. Having a lot of people back in my life today is very important to me because during active addiction, we push a lot of people away. But my mom and I always shared a very close relationship. Unfortunately, I lost my mom this year. I did gain another very important woman in my life. I was married this year to my wife, Debbie. My daughter, Jody, and my grandchildren.
The last time he had got out of prison and started using again, no one would even let me see him because they said it was so bad. So, I still never gave up hope. And I had had a child at the time, and I really wanted him to be a grandfather to him. And when I seen him start to change about 8 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago, right after my son was born. I just couldn't. I was happy with the progress that he had made in our relationship, and that I knew he was going to live. You know, unfortunately, as our relationship got closer, me and my husband decided to move down south. And when I came up a couple years ago and he started to mention CCAR, his face just lit up and just inspired me, because the work he was doing was volunteering, and I just knew that something had changed in him, and that he was so grateful for his recovery that here he was turning around and giving back as much as he could. And the education that CCAR gave him, and to hear about him going before legislature was just amazing. But to have him back like this, and to see him reaching his full potential and being in recovery, and everyone else seeing what a great guy I knew he was, you know, is very special. And I very much believe that this does need to be known. You know, people that have never been in this situation, they're probably those people, the addicts, or those people, or the other people. But it's not like that. You know, everyone's family is touched by this, and if you're going to ignore that fact, then you're just being ignorant. I mean, you can't just leave them as those people. I mean, they're our family, they're our society.
At that time, when he was killed, I pulled back. It's natural. I said, I don't want to have anything to do with these kids anymore. They killed my nephew. I don't want anything to do with these kids. But there was an outcome from that. About 250 kids decided to leave Los Olios. Every once in a while, they'll bring me some special kid. For example, Juan Carlos, who was going to go to jail. And they thought that the only way that he can be helped is by handing him over to me. He's one of the tougher of the kids to work with. This kid's a sweetheart. He's doing really good. He works for the state of Connecticut now, tobacco compliance. He wants to be a social worker. He talks about being in law enforcement and social work. It's unbelievable.
My mom's had me, crack baby. My dad didn't enjoy that. So one day came, talked to my mom's, picked up his stuff and said, I'll be back. Never came back. So it's a pain that I carry inside that I don't tell nobody, and I never spoke about this. Never spoke to Roberto, and he knows it. Never speak about my dad. I was always in the streets, always looking at the drug dealers and the drug users and the pimps. And
he really didn't have any place to go. That was one of the reasons why I let him come to my house, was that I found out that at night when everybody was asleep, he would sleep in my hallway. And I said, why sleep in the hallway if there's plenty of room in a nice warm bed, and if he does the right thing, I can help him. So I brought him into the house, and my son was always advocating, bring this kid in, bring this kid in. So I brought him into the house and got him involved with DEMIS, got him involved with CCAR. I think CCAR to him was one of the most important things in his life. I never give up on them. I say, keep calling me. Let's find out what needs to happen. Many of them are hearing about CCAR for the first time. They like to hear about what's going on with these guys and their involvement, with CCAR. It's interesting to see how they've also been able to mature. One of the reasons why I like CCAR for them is because they don't just see me. They see the Phil Valentines, they see the Mickeys, they see the Rons.
Well, I lost my brother. That was like the hardest thing when I was in jail that happened to me, because I had nobody to talk to, so I had to call Rob, get my mind off of everything, all the problems going on in my house. So I came out, and I'm being clean, standing out of jail, thanks to Rob. Helped me out here, go to a lot of CCAR meetings. Don't do things like I used to, because I know that going to lead me back to jail, to getting high and what I used to do. So Rob is just like, he's like family. His family is my family. Just when I don't live with my parents, I live alone, so it's like my parents right here, someone to talk to, get away, keep me away from the streets.
I'm really proud of many of them. You know, I never tell them, stop doing what you're doing. It's basically, you look at me, you see what I'm doing, you see what CCAR people are doing, and they imitate. They'll do that. They see a different life. You know, they've met DeGeorgette. They feel really bad about what happened with DeGeorgette's son. We've had those discussions too.
There are times when I close my eyes and I allow my mind to wander back to the days when Tony was young. When I was young and we were both so innocent of all the pain and hurt the world can inflict upon us. Tony became sick with the disease of addiction, and on April 23, 1998, died in his room of a heroin overdose just 11 days after returning from a 60-day rehabilitation program. He was 24 years old. There are no words that can describe my sorrow and grief, for so great a loss have I suffered. It is only less than that of my beautiful son losing his life to drugs. Yeah, when he was little, he was very athletic. He rode his bike all over. He played soccer, he took karate, he played baseball, he dirt biked, he fished, he hunted. He did all the things that little boys do and love. I mean, you could not get him in the house. You know, him sit down in front of the TV and watch? No, he was out there playing all the time. When we brought him up to Yale, they put him under suicidal watch. I told the doctors there that he had talked about suicide. The drug task force came down and asked me if I knew where the drugs came from. And they only kept him there for 72 hours. They wouldn't hold him there, and my idea is, you know, you're telling me that my son is not suicidal. Well, I'm telling you, if my son is sticking a needle in his arm with enough heroin and taking enough pills to kill himself, he's not all right. And, you know, I needed help to fight for his life, and there was nobody there to help me. He used to tell me, yeah, he just wanted to get well. He just wanted to be normal again. He just wanted to be normal. I know that they go over all that in the programs, and when he was there and when he was in the controlled environment, he was great. He was great, but when he came out, he just couldn't do it. I mean, he tried. He would have his clean periods. I don't believe that when he came out, he had an intention of using. He tried not to, but he came out and he was alone because he had no friends left. There was nowhere for him to turn. There was nobody to talk to. I couldn't go to his family because he still felt ashamed about what he'd done. And it's a hard thing, you know? It's a hard thing when an addict finally gets clean and they look around and they say, you know, what have I done to everybody? What have I done to myself? What have I done to my life? And the stigma that's attached to drug addiction doesn't help. It just doesn't help. I saw the sorrow in his eyes. I saw the pain and the shame he endured for being stigmatized as a drug addict. What's important to me is changing the stigma of what a drug addict is. Know that if it's your child or your husband or your wife, that it's not them, it's the disease that makes them do the things that they do. If there is a problem, don't be afraid to say so. Don't be afraid to come out and say, I think my child is addicted. I think my child is an alcoholic. There's places now to go for help, and we're here to help. That's what CCAR does. We're here to help, to find places and advocate for better drug treatments, longer drug treatments. Just help that I wasn't able to find.
I remember being drunk one time. My son was 12 years old and trying to kill myself, and I had a very good relationship with him. But I remember coming to in the hospital with being hooked up to all sorts of machines, and him standing over me and saying, "Mom, you know, how could you ever think about leaving me?" And I would say, "Oh my God, you know, this kid is going through an awful lot. Did I stop drinking? No." I come from an abusive home, verbally, sexually, and physically, and left home at 17. I got to the point where I drank every day. I was in relationships that were abusive. I had to get sober before I stopped putting up with that sort of behavior. I had to start learning how to take care of myself. I've been in recovery for 12 years. I celebrated 12 years this Valentine's Day. They tell you to, when you first get sober, to imagine where you'll be in 5 years, you know, and there's no way in the world that I would believe that I have the things that I have today. I have a beautiful home. I have a wonderful marriage. I have a wonderful relationship with my 2 children. I have 2 grandsons.
I love her a lot. If you'd asked me 13 years ago, I would have said I loved her, but I didn't have that mother-daughter bond with her. I can call her up anytime and ask her anything.
I am the executive secretary to the first selectman in the town of Wyndham. When I first got there, I didn't even know how to turn the typewriter on. But I did learn, and I do like people, so that was easy, answering the phone and talking with people.
Well, I found Diane to be a very caring individual. She is a very professional individual. She's very friendly to the public, and I just think the world of her, and she's been a very valuable asset to this office, not only to this office, but to the town of Wyndham.
Bob Savage and myself and a few others from Connecticut met with people from the 6 New England states on this movement to try and come up with some sort of plan to put a face on recovery, to let people that know that sobriety does work. Because Lord knows that you hear enough about all of the negative things, about what the addict and alcoholic does to survive, the breaking into houses, the stealing, the horrible things. They hear about it, they read about it, they see it on TV, but they don't see that people like myself, that recovery does work. So I became very interested, and I've been involved ever since, speaking in front of the legislature, speaking at conferences. There are a lot of us that are out there. There are a lot of us that live in this town and every town in America that pay taxes, that vote, that buy houses, that are your neighbors, and we need to let people know the accomplishments that we make, because the only thing that we hear are the negative ends of it. A lot of us have gone to school, have become lawyers, have become doctors, I'm sure, people that are well respected. And my plea is that for these people to, for lack of a better expression, but to come out of the closet and let other people know that sobriety does work, and we need to do everything that we can to get that word out.
The recovery community's perspective is unique. And why? Because we've all recovered. We've been through the system, and some of us haven't been through the system, which are both very valuable. We know how we got well. I think that's a pretty strong position to be in for treatment providers to listen to, for policymakers to listen, for legislators to listen, for police and the judicial system to listen to, because we were, a lot of us, considered the dregs of the earth. The alcoholic in the gutter, the addict with a needle in his arm, the addict smoking crack out of a pipe, that we had the big scarlet letter on us. Don't touch them, they're trouble, they're dangerous, lock them up, get them out of my sight, I don't want to see them. They're sick. Treat them, they get well, they pay taxes, they raise families, they vote, they go to church, they build healthy communities, they become active, grateful members of society. Isn't that what it's all about?
Everybody's a part of, when they're in recovery, whether they're black, Latino, Italian, French, you name it. The whole thing is about giving back. And that's the way we frame it, is, here's a chance for you to give back. Here's a chance for you to learn about the system and be able to advocate for those that are out there. They get involved.
And again, be it that these programs were not so available at the time of my sister and my brother's death, who died of heroin abuse, and eventually, of course, they died of AIDS. For me, that was a very devastating point in my life. I talk about that, and I build my strengths on those two, because they're no longer with me. So I understand what it is to have this kind of assistance, these kinds of needs for this disease. We need the programs. We need the funding for these programs. I can't stress that enough. I think to lose any more lives, it's not worth it. And then again, then what's the sense of it? So CCAR is in a place where I feel a new reassurance, a new life to give to those who are less fortunate and don't have to worry about being stereotyped. Because CCAR is about a broadness of diversity, cultural persons, or people who have need the assistance or need the help. Hopefully that they can always be comforted by knowing that we are going to be there. CCAR will be there.
I have seen, not only with the volunteerism, but also with my job with the town, and the importance of putting a positive face on recovery. I've been to meetings and attended meetings regarding zoning issues. The stigma is still out there, and it's alive and well and living in Connecticut. And what we need to do is to work real hard at getting rid of the stigma that there's something wrong with people in recovery, because there's nothing wrong with us.
I don't look as much at all the things I'm doing. It's just I keep busy. If this is where I need to be at this council meeting, if this is where I need to be volunteering over here, if I need to be holding this person's hand in the detox, cool. Wherever I need to be to carry the message so that somebody else suffering can get treatment, can obtain recovery. That's where I need to be. Where I don't need to be is underneath that bridge, using. Where I don't need to be is in a coffin. If I'm in a crack house, if I'm in Bushnell Park, if I'm on any street corner, I better be trying to hold another brother or sister up and leading them to a program. That's what it's about. That's it.
I'd like to congratulate each one of you for being here today and doing it. This is not an easy thing to do. This is a first time where many of you are publicly saying that recovery is possible and that recovery is a very positive experience. And this walk is going to continue for a number of years, and I would say next year, the third year, the crowd is going to go way back there. So you are the privilege of being here the first. And I really, really welcome you.
The people people in recovery are just like the rest of the people in Connecticut, the society. They're part of the system. As a person who used to be in treatment, I used to tell the people that I would work with that one of the most important things to make treatment work is that people who are just starting in treatment, they have to see someone who took the medicine that you took and got better. So you're visible evidence.
Hi everyone, my name's Joey and I'm in recovery. And I'm grateful for everybody that's here today, everybody that has taken the step, the courage to step into recovery.
How many of you people who are in recovery or support recovery vote? One thing I want to say is that our vision statement, which is on the back there, is that society sees addiction treatment and recovery as a heroic and positive effort by the year 2005. When I first heard about that, I had a little struggle with my past and being considered a hero or using that word heroic. Until one day in discussion at a CCAR meeting, we talked about the word hero. And I offer this acronym for you, that anyone that honestly embraces a recovery opportunity is a hero in my eyes. Thank you. You're all heroes.
Anybody who's in recovery knows how powerful the substance is that they were using, whether it was alcohol or other substances. And despite the power of the substance and despite the bad consequences, these were mood-altering substances and they make you feel better. You need to help me to find people who are willing to say that they took the medicine, so to speak, and they got better. In other words, we need to put a face on recovery so that those people who need assistance can say, there's a person who's going through what these folks want me to try to go through. That person's better. I can be like that person. I'm willing to take whatever it is that they did so that I can recover just as they are. I cannot emphasize how important that is.